Welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're looking into the work of Dutch author Han Peters.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, our listeners sent in excerpts from his book series, De Laatste Profit, and also some reviews and stuff from his website.
Okay.
So clearly, there's a lot of interest in this guy, and his work is really unique. It blends historical fiction, conspiracy theories, and, believe it or not, even a touch of self-help.
Wow, that's quite a mix.
Right. And at the core of all of this is his vision for a new world order, something he calls Aussism. So that's what we're going to be diving into today.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. And hopefully by the end, we'll have a better idea of whether this fictional world, this world that he's created, actually offers any real-world solutions. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he proposes. It's one thing to critique the world as it is, but to actually offer a viable alternative is a whole other challenge.
Absolutely.
And that's what intrigues me about Peters. He doesn't just present a philosophy, he tries to build a practical framework for it. Okay. Yeah, and he lays out this whole new order, this new way of structuring society in his book, De Nieuwe Grondwet volgens het Aussisme.
Which translates to?
The new constitution, according to Aussism. He actually outlines a new constitution for this reimagined society.
Wow, he's really thought this through, huh?
He has.
So before we get into the Constitution itself, I think it would be helpful to understand the foundation. How does Peters even arrive at this concept of Aussism? Where does it all begin?
Well, it all starts with the protagonist of De Laatste Profit, Emil van Straten.
Okay.
He's a historian and scientist.
Right.
And while on a UNESCO expedition, he stumbles upon what Peters calls a magical diamond.
Wait, hold on. A magical diamond? That sounds a little out there, even for a deep dive.
It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But bear with me. This diamond is described as this marvel of geometry, and it becomes the key to understanding all these ancient mysteries. Things like the pyramids, the Nazca lines, even the Easter Island statues.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but still a bit skeptical.
Yeah.
How does Peters connect this magical diamond to, a new world order?
Well, you have to think of this diamond as a symbol of hidden knowledge. It's like Peters is suggesting that by understanding these geometric principles and their connection to ancient wisdom traditions, we can unlock a deeper understanding of the universe.
Okay, I'm starting to see where he's going with this,
Yeah.
but it's still a pretty big leap from a magical diamond to a whole new societal structure.
Right. It's definitely a big idea, but it gets even more interesting. So Emil, the protagonist, he has this profound experience through his discovery. It completely changes his worldview, and he feels compelled to create a philosophy based on this newfound knowledge, and that's where Aussism comes in.
So Aussism is essentially a philosophy that aims to solve global problems by getting rid of things like greed and power, those kinds of systems. It's funny because I think a lot of people have felt that urge at some point, maybe not on the scale of uncovering ancient secrets, but that feeling that things just need a reset, that the world isn't working the way it should.
Absolutely. And Peters taps into that sentiment, that desire for something better, something more just and equitable.
And he doesn't just stop at presenting a utopian ideal, right? He actually proposes concrete solutions.
Yeah, he really does.
One of those solutions is a system called O that replaces traditional currency. And this is where things start to get really interesting, I think.
It is.
We've all heard of alternative currencies, Bitcoin and all that. But what exactly is O and how would it even work?
Well, imagine a world where instead of earning and spending money, you contribute to the community based on your skills and your talents.
Aye.
And in return, you have access to all the resources that you need to live a fulfilling life.
So it's not just about trading goods and services. It's about a much deeper shift in how we value individual contributions and making sure everyone's needs are met.
That's the essence of O. It's a system built on contribution and shared abundance.
I mean, it sounds great in theory, but I can't help but wonder, wouldn't that require a massive shift in human behavior?
Of course.
Are we really ready to abandon, our deeply ingrained ideas about money and individual wealth?
Well, that's the challenge that Peters throws down. He argues that our current monetary system is inherently flawed because it fosters greed and competition.
Yeah, okay, I see that.
And by removing money from the equation and replacing it with a system that emphasizes, communal well-being, he believes that we can fundamentally alter how humans behave.
So it's like a complete rewiring of our societal values.
It is. It's a very radical idea, to be sure, but it's one that Peters believes is absolutely essential for our survival as a species.
All right, so we've got this new system O, and we have this philosophy that aims to dismantle greed and power. But how does Peters actually envision implementing this on a global scale?
Well, he proposes the creation of something called the Ojanutshap. The Ojanutshap. It acts as a sort of global governing body. Think of it like a highly evolved version of the United Nations. It oversees the transition to OSISism, and it manages the distribution of resources according to the principles of O.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, the Ojanutshap would essentially replace traditional governments and nation-states.
Yeah, essentially. Peters suggests that those traditional power structures are part of the problem.
Because?
Well, because they're often too focused on self-preservation and maintaining the status quo.
Right.
The Ojanutshap, on the other hand, is envisioned as a decentralized and collaborative organization that's driven by the principles of OSISism. It prioritizes the collective good over individual or national interests.
I mean, it's a bold vision for sure, but it makes you wonder, is such a radical transformation even possible?
That's where Peters' use of fiction comes into play. You see, by creating this world, this fictional world where OSISm is a reality, he's kind of inviting us to explore the possibilities. He wants us to think critically about whether such a radical change could actually work in the real world.
So it's like a thought experiment disguised as a thrilling story.
Exactly.
And from what I'm gathering, it gets even more complex with the introduction of some rather unexpected players.
It does. We're about to enter the realm of extraterrestrial contact, a place where ancient myths and futuristic possibilities collide.
All right, now I'm really on the edge of my seat. Tell me more about this alien connection.
Well, you see, Peters, he doesn't just draw inspiration from history and philosophy. He also delves into ancient mythology.
Okay.
Remember Kronos?
The Greek god.
Yes, the leader of the Titans in Greek mythology. In Peters' world, Kronos is an actual entity.
Wait, what? So you're telling me that we're talking about aliens potentially influencing the course of human history now?
That's what Peters suggests. It's a fascinating blend of science fiction and, well, reality.
Okay, now this is taking a turn I didn't see coming. So in this narrative, this alien Kronos is somehow involved with the creation of OSASMs.
Yeah. He guides Emil in shaping OSISM, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, the solutions to humanity's problems might lie beyond our earthly understanding.
All right, my mind is officially blown. We've got ancient symbols, a new world order, a moneyless society, and now alien intervention. It's almost like Peters has taken every conspiracy theory out there and woven it into this grand narrative.
He has a knack for that, for pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible, and it doesn't stop there. Emil, remember him? He has a son, Orlando, who is considered the last prophet.
The last prophet. And what's his role in all of this?
He is destined to lead humanity toward this brighter future envisioned by OSISM.
So we've got a prophecy element thrown in now, too. Peters is really pulling out all the stops. But I'm curious, how do readers react to all this? Do they take it as a serious proposal for a better world? Or do they see it as, just a fantastical thought experiment?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll explore as we delve into the reviews of Peters' work. Because while some might see it as pure fiction, others find profound truths hidden within these fantastical narratives.
Okay, I'm definitely ready to hear what people are saying about all of this. Let's unpack those reviews and see what resonates.
So, are you ready to hear what people are saying about all of this? About Peters and his vision?
Hit me with it. What are the reviews saying about this whole OSISM thing?
Well, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Which I guess is to be expected with a body of work that's this unique, and thought-provoking.
Right.
Some reviewers, though, they are absolutely captivated by Peters' storytelling.
Really?
Yeah, they describe his writing as fast-paced, engaging, a real page-turner, like a mix of historical mystery and conspiracy theories with these philosophical reflections woven in.
It's quite a combination, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But what about OSISM itself? Are people actually buying into this vision of a new world order?
It's fascinating. There's this definite sense of awe and intrigue. Some reviewers, they describe his vision as beautiful and sincere. Yeah, and they praise its potential to, maybe actually solve global issues and create a more just and equitable world.
So they're really taking it seriously.
It seems so. One reviewer even said that they fell in love with the book because of how it depicts this new world order.
Fell in love. Wow, that's quite a reaction. I mean, it sounds like OSISM is tapping into a very deep yearning for a better world, like a sense of hope that maybe things really can change.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just idealism.
Right.
Reviewers also seem to be intrigued by the practical aspects of Ozicism,
Oh, really? Like what?
particularly the whole concept of, replacing traditional currency.
Right, so they're actually asking those tough questions like, could a system like this really work?
Exactly. Could it curb greed? Could it create a more just society? All those big questions.
Yeah, those are the billion-dollar questions, aren't they?
Mm.
It's easy to imagine a utopia, but actually envisioning how it would function in the real world, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
What are people saying about how O would work in practice?
Well, one reviewer highlighted Peter's emphasis on community and collaboration.
Okay.
They pointed out that O isn't just about giving up money.
Right.
It's about contributing your unique skills and talents to the collective good.
And in turn?
In turn, you have access to the resources you need.
Hmm.
This reviewer, they were fascinated by how this system could potentially completely shift our focus
From?
from individual gain to communal well-being.
It's definitely a powerful idea, especially in a world that often feels, well, incredibly individualistic.
Yeah.
But wouldn't a system like that require a massive overhaul of our institutions?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, how would things like healthcare and education, infrastructure even, how would those be managed without our current economic models?
Well, Peters does address those questions.
He does.
Yeah. He goes into detail in his proposed constitution, remember?
Right, right.
The one we talked about earlier. He outlines the structure and function of the Ojanutshap, how it would manage all of that. It's not just, a philosophical treatise. He presents it as a blueprint for a new society.
So the Ojanutshap, this is what would essentially become the governing body, right, for this whole new world order. But how would it even function? Would it be like a centralized authority figure or more of a decentralized network?
Well, this is something that reviewers were really interested in. And it seems like Peters is advocating for a more direct form of democracy.
Interesting.
Yeah, where citizens actually have a more active role in decision-making.
More direct involvement.
Right. The Ojanutshap, it's more like a facilitator, making sure the principles of Oshism are upheld and that resources are distributed fairly. But it doesn't, dictate every aspect of people's lives.
Okay, I can see the appeal of that, for sure.
Right.
But I bet some people find this whole thing a bit too idealistic.
Oh, absolutely.
Even naive, maybe. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
Dismantling the power structures that we have and then creating this global system based on, cooperation and shared resources.
Yeah.
That's not exactly an easy feat.
It's not. And you're right. There's definitely some skepticism mixed in with the praise. Some reviewers, they question whether such a radical transformation is even possible, given human nature and the complexities of global politics.
Yeah. And then you throw in that whole extraterrestrial element, which probably adds another layer of complexity.
It does. And that's where we really start to see a divide in opinions.
How so?
Well, some reviewers, they find this blend of science fiction with social commentary really intriguing, even thought-provoking.
Okay.
They see it as a way to explore the vast possibilities of the universe and challenge our assumptions about, human exceptionalism.
I could see the appeal of that. This idea that maybe there are advanced alien civilizations out there guiding humanity toward a better future. Especially in a world that seems to be facing all these insurmountable challenges. But I'm guessing not everyone is on board with this part of Peter's work.
You're right. Some reviewers, they found the extraterrestrial elements a bit too far-fetched, even distracting from the other aspects of Ozicism that they found more grounded and, thought-provoking. They felt like it veered too far into fantasy and that it undermined the credibility of Peter's social commentary.
So it's like he's walking this tightrope, trying to balance this grand vision with a sense of realism.
Yeah.
But even if some readers aren't fully convinced by, the fantastical elements, they still seem to be grappling with the core message, right?
Absolutely. Whether they fully embrace, the alien storyline or not, reviewers consistently acknowledge the power and the urgency of Peter's critique of our current world order. They recognize that he's calling for a really radical reimagining of our values and our systems. And that's what makes his work so compelling, even for those who don't necessarily agree with his proposed solutions.
It's like he's holding up this mirror to our world and challenging us to confront our complacency.
Exactly.
He's asking us to consider whether our current systems are really serving us, serving humanity, or if it's time for a radical shift.
Precisely. And he's doing it through storytelling,
Yeah.
He's weaving together fact and fiction and philosophical inquiry in a way that just sparks the imagination and provokes people to think critically.
It's a powerful mix, and clearly it resonates, even if people don't agree with everything he says. What are some of the details, though, that stand out to you from the reviews? What really captures the essence of what Peters is trying to get across?
Yep. That's a great question. And, it leads us to some really poignant observations from the reviewers. Let's dive into those, shall we? So, you're curious about those specific details from the reviews, those little nuggets that really capture the essence of what Peters is trying to convey.
Yeah, what really stood out to you?
Well, one reviewer said that reading Peters' work made them dare to dream of an ideal world again. That phrase, it really stuck with me. It speaks to that power that Peters has, to ignite hope even in the face of, well, all the challenges that we're facing today.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It suggests that even if you don't buy into every single detail, like the moneyless society or the alien intervention, you can still be inspired to imagine a better future.
Exactly. And it's not just about escaping into a fantasy world either.
Right.
Reviewers appreciate how Peters actually tackles those real-world issues head on.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
He doesn't. He critiques those systems of greed, corruption, and violence, all the things that are plaguing our world. He doesn't hold back.
It's refreshing to see an author willing to challenge the status quo so directly. It might make some people uncomfortable, but it's important to have those conversations.
It is. He forces us to confront these complexities and to think about, alternative ways of being.
There's one quote that really resonated with me. A reviewer said that Peters' work was a spark of hope in these bizarre times we live in.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that perfectly captures why his work is so appealing. It offers this sense of possibility, a glimmer of light in what can feel like a very dark world.
It does, doesn't it? And that spark of hope, it doesn't require blind faith.
Right.
You don't have to accept every aspect of Ossicism to find it.
Exactly.
It comes from engaging with these ideas, allowing yourself to imagine a different future, even if it seems a little far-fetched at times.
So even if we don't end up living in a world without money or being governed by an alien-influenced council, Peters' work can still act as a catalyst for change.
Absolutely.
It can inspire us to question things, challenge the status quo, and maybe even come up with our own solutions to the problems that we're all facing.
Exactly. And that's where the true value of Peters' work lies, I think. It's not about giving us like a step-by-step guide to utopia. It's about sparking a conversation, igniting imaginations, empowering us to believe that a better world is possible.
Well, as we resurface from this deep dive into Hans Peters and Ossism, I'm definitely left with a sense of wonder and possibility.
And maybe a few lingering questions, too.
Oh, for sure. Is a world without money really possible?
Could fiction actually inspire real-world change?
And what role do you envision playing in all of this, in shaping the future?
Lots to think about.
Keep those questions simmering, everyone. And until next time, keep exploring, keep diving deep.